Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, wherever you may be in the world today. We welcome you all to a fireside chat on how to work better with SAP accounts, hosted by docuflow, the company, the product that VersaFile has developed to handle SAP archiving and other things. We're also joined with by IBM, who we work with globally on a number of accounts. Before we continue with the fireside chat, which will be hosted by Sean Fitzpatrick, our CEO, I just want to highlight up in the top of your screen there, you can hit that Q&A button to answer questions to the team as we go. And with this, I will hand it over to Sean Fitzpatrick. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Great. So first off, thanks everyone for carving out some time today from your busy schedule for joining us. Our session today will address really the above agenda items. Total time will be around 30 minutes or less, I promise you, including some time for questions at the end. So with our crackling fire, let's continue to get going here. So just kind of getting comfortable in our fireside chat. So I'm Sean Fitzpatrick. I'm part of the VersaFile team. A longtime IBM partner who brings you the product docuflow for SAP. Some of you may or may not have heard of our product on the IBM Passport Advantage price list. But most importantly, though, what I'd like to do is introduce our two IBM guests for today. Two people that I've known for years now and had the honor to work with in their home countries. And Dominic could share stories of some great dinners we've had in Switzerland, and Snorre some great dinners in, I think it was like a 50-course meal we had in Oslo one night. So lots of great times and really getting to know them and their customers and their cultures. So Dominic Bear and Snorre Sveinar. Gentlemen, if we were in front of a live audience, this is where they would all be a huge round of applause to welcome you, and the crowd would be roaring. So anyways, thank you for taking time at the end of your busy day to chat. First off, let's get to know you a little bit more. So maybe Dominic, starting with yourself, tell us a little bit about where you're based, a few seconds of your background, your role today, and maybe perhaps the area that you're covering here in 2026.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Dominic Baer. I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland, and I joined, I think, over 20 years ago with FileNet, and then transferred to IBM, working in the ECM space for quite a while, and then over time transitioned to software architect. And in the meantime, I'm an account technical leader. That means I'm responsible for hardware, software, and product-related services in the context of public in Switzerland.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And I think the mountain in the background gave it away where you were. And Dominic and I was also a part of FileNet at one point in time. We didn't know it, but we were colleagues at the time. So Snorre, same for you. Tell us a bit about where you're based, a few seconds of your background, your role today, and again, perhaps the area that you're covering here in 2026.
Sure. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Snorre Sveinar. I've been working in IBM for almost 15 years now. Time flies by. Working in different areas, started in ECM, as it says in this presentation, and been working with business automation, installations and customers and solutions for almost 15 years. Now moving, of course, into IBM's data platform area, and recently moved into a new role called Customer Success Engineer, so covering some clients in the Nordics. So that is my focus area this year.
Awesome. Thanks. So thank you to both of you again for joining us today. I'm truly grateful for you both taking out the time to do this for us. So what I thought I'd start is just one real quick slide on why we're here today. And well, the VersaFile team is really just had a great experience with working with various account technical leaders within IBM around the world. And I'm just going to say ATL for now, or ongoing. But when it comes to helping IBM customers, really, focused in on helping to solve their key SAP related business and technical problems. We talk about docuflow for SAP. It does provide integration patterns for other line of business applications in addition to SAP, and will continue to grow more and more. But as you're all planning for 2026, we wanted to generate some awareness that docuflow, it's a D part available on Passport Advantage, could help solve some of those customer challenges, regardless if it is SAP related or otherwise. And so here on the screen, we have a simplified view of docuflow. Where we're at is right dead in the center between the customer's ERP and your preferred content management system. And so if we start on the left of the screen, you'll see the IBM logo representing IBM repositories. This could be Backsock, it could be FileNet, it could be CM8, CMOD, IBM Cloud Storage, and other multiple repositories that we also support, even non-IBM storage in some cases for very good business reasons. So what you'll also notice that all of the arrows are bidirectional, so we can flow documents and metadata in both directions. And this is a critical foundational part of our product for intelligent automation-based solutions, both pre-built and whatever you may dream up for your customers or what your customers may need. And so today we support legacy SAP ECC, that's the old stuff. We support S/4HANA, which is the new stuff, both on-premise, what they call cloud private. We also support SAP RISE and also SAP S/4 Cloud Public, which is our multi-tenanted solution. We've also recently added success factors, and we're currently today working in progress on a base connector for Workday as well. And while attachment and data archiving are like the key activities that you must do to keep your SAP system performant, everybody does this. So everybody has a third-party repository they're integrated with. Where the real fun begins is when we can bring business value, additional business value to the user and to their users with our pre-built SAP solutions, maybe leveraging IBM workflows, other IBM products, helping to reduce technical overhead using SAP or IBM Power Platform, all sorts of different scenarios that we can come into play to generate more and more ROI over just pure play archiving. And this really gets into the automation space, and coming out later this year, we'll have some pre-built AI solutions as well that will be based on some IBM technologies and really fit within the SAP landscape. So one example of where we've had a great collaboration is with a company called Equinor in Norway. And so I'm going to call on Snorri. Perhaps I can call on you to say a few words about the needs and the work completed at Equinor. Snorri?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure if you have heard about Equinor, but it's definitely the largest company in Norway. It's an energy company, mainly oil and gas. So we have a huge benefit of Equinor here in Norway, and maybe it's the largest company in the Nordics as well. But anyway, the customer several years ago promoted that they have had a cloud first strategy. So that meant that we migrated all their SAP archives to IBM's cloud service, which then was called Business Automation Content Services on Cloud. Has changed a little bit the name now, so now it's called Cloud Pak for Business Automation as a Service. We did this I think it's 6 years ago, migrated from the content store on premise because the customer really would like to have a SaaS service for this. It has now been running for 6 years. The challenge was that we still had to, in a way, keep our IBM solutions for this, which is called Content Collector on premise, and we were continuously looking for an alternative for this. And then I got a tip internally that maybe a solution from VersaFile could be a really good alternative for this. So we contacted VersaFile, I think 3 years ago, and started to test together with them their docuflow solution, which really met all the requirements that they had previously. And in addition, VersaFile could also offer an SaaS solution for this, which was very attractive for the customer. So I know that the teams worked very aggressively for a 2 or 3 months period, checking and validating that the customer's requirements were met regarding archiving and retrieval from SAP. And actually, after a few weeks and months, introduced the docuflow for the customer and moved all the, I think it was hundreds of SAP archives to the new solutions. So and it has been running very good and without any, as far as I know, many obstacles during these 2 or 3 years. So a great benefit for the customer. So of course the VersaFile team now takes care of everything like patching and upgrades and backups for this docuflow solution, and that in my view is a very happy customer after this after the migration period, which were quite swift and without any problems. So they are using this solution today very intensively, retrieving millions of, or running content operations against archive with millions of transactions each month for terabytes of content.
Yeah, thanks, Snorri. It's appreciate you providing that overview. It was definitely a challenging project. It started off, of course, doing a proof of concept to prove that we could do what we said we would do, and that was coming up on the end of year December timeline. I'm not sure if you remember that, but
yeah, I do.
But
it was
we
quite
got through
hectic,
that.
so I remember that quite well. But in the end, it was a happy ending, so everyone was satisfied. I think that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that project was once we got the go ahead, that was 90 days start to finish. And I think it was like over 250 SAP repositories that got reconfigured and set up and brought into production over that time, over 3 different waves. So it was a good project, involved IBM software, obviously. It involved the customer. It involved IBM Expert Labs as well. So it was a lot of hands that made that come true. So thanks again for all the support on that and the opportunity we had to work on that. So let's get into our fireside chat then. And so what I'd like to do is just put a couple questions out there, and fully realizing that we all come from the document management space and the content management space as our core understanding, but a broad set of technology understanding. And this is more, many of these questions are a bit more SAP oriented, but that's our reality, right? That many of us find ourselves in these situations, and we need to start talking SAP. We don't know much about it. So that's part of the purpose of today's session, is to start to warm up our colleagues around having conversations around SAP and bringing the IBM technologies and approaches into that mix. So let's get some ATL context to start off with. So as an IBM, account technical leader, working closely with customers, and some of those are SAP customers. Not sure if you're seeing any, changes, I guess, right now in how customers are thinking about cloud, SaaS, and long-term architecture in the SAP world. And it doesn't have to be just in the SAP world, but in general. And how should ATLs with SAP accounts be approaching or initiating these conversations with those customers? So, Snorri, maybe you can start first. And at Equinor, what initially triggered the conversation around content and archiving, in cloud for SAP? Was this part of their core strategy? Was it cost savings? Like, what really triggered that at Equinor?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the customer had the cloud first strategy, so they were really aiming for moving as much as they could into SaaS solutions. So that was in a way the strategy that started the dialogue with the customer to see if we could offer something that could benefit the customer. And of course, it has a huge impact on the operations. Today, they don't need to, in a way, manage an on-premise archive, handling terabytes of data and documents. And I think that we have proven during the years that this, in a way, has been really efficient for them. So I think going into this, of course, I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of different SAP customers, but at least for this enterprise, which is quite a huge enterprise with more than 30,000 users, they really see the benefit of using this kind of integration with SAP from IBM, and of course VersaFile with docuflow.
Yeah, and so, sorry, and maybe this might be a question that's floating on in the minds of account executives and other ATLs. So they're currently using an IBM product. We're thinking about coming in with docuflow to replace, frankly, that IBM product ICC for SAP, or as an add-on, but in many cases replace that. Did the IBM account team for Equinor have any fears or worries about that, or was that actually a net benefit because you could buy it through the Passport Advantage?
Yeah, it was it was a very easy switch, to say it like that, especially when you have an internal part number in IBM that you just could use and show the benefit for the customer as well, financially as well, using a solution from VersaFile. So it made things a lot easier, and of course the customer was very positive as well. So that in a way was a no-brainer for us to, in a way, convert the licenses to this type.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for that. So Dominic, over to you, given your background with FileNet and SAP Content Collector, because I know you've got some experience and some experience in that area as well. What role did these platforms historically play in SAP environments that you've come across, and where do they start to, in your experience, in your customer accounts, where does this start to play into cloud and SaaS world for you? Or are you seeing customers ask about this? Oh, you're on mute, Dominic.
Yeah, so found the micro. Yeah, so over the last 10 years, it was pretty stable, I think. And then when SAP started with their RISE program and moving as well more SaaS-based services around, I mean, it was obvious that with the IBM product with ICC for SAP, there was a gap. And I think you guys did a wonderful job just bridging this gap. And I think with the upgrade as an IBM product, if you want, I think you made it really very simple to propose that to the customer. And what not sure whether I should go as deep right now, but I think the ability you have with this bidirectional replication, I mean, this makes it really very easy to bring it in. I mean, so you can decide then whether this function from SAP or the other function should be replicated, not replicated, what should go out to the cloud, what should stay on premise. So I think this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thanks. And so just kind of coming back, you said something, you talked about RISE, and that triggered a little question in my mind that we're seeing of course with customers going from old SAP to new SAP, the S/4HANA, a lot of that push is to SAP RISE. And for those who don't know, SAP RISE is where you as a customer can have a private cloud of SAP. And basically, SAP asks you, hey, which hyperscaler would you like to deploy this on? And you can now do that on IBM Cloud as well. And so you pick your hyperscaler. SAP deploys all of this for you and basically provides a managed service around all of your SAP infrastructure and really provides it as a SaaS, similar to what IBM does with Backstock or with what you now called business automation for cloud or on cloud. So are you seeing a lot of those customers? You think the RISE and the push to RISE and SaaS is what's pushing a lot of this as well for customers to start rethinking their document management strategies associated with SAP?
Yeah, I think SAP tries to push their own document management in, but I would say as an ATL, the typical situation is that you have an existing base with finite. But I think as well with, say, if you would not really have an existing base, I think the open text offering is just very poor. And you are not really living enterprise content management. I mean, this is then more an archival and retrieval game, but it's not really enterprise content management. So it's really the question whether the customer wants to leverage the existing documents he uses from a business context from SAP, but maybe as well to have some added value on top of that, so that you can search for certain documents, maybe using AI to search. So there are a lot of good reasons why you should look from different point of angles on your document base.
Yeah, and some of the use cases we've talked about is, hey, based on a metadata update coming from SAP down to the documents, how do we kick off a workflow in the IBM tools, or launch some automated integration using some of the IBM integration tools? So the world opens up once we start combining, live metadata updates from SAP down to that content, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think from my experience implementing a workflow in SAP is on paper, the easy way, the out of the box way, but in reality, most customers are suffering from them. Just having our colleagues on the say on the existing finite technology or as well on the Cloud Pak for Business Automation part, I mean, it's just much easier to establish a workflow and to integrate with other components.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Thanks for that. So let's move on to our next question, just to keep us moving along. So as part of that, Clean Core is something that keeps coming up from SAP as well. So if you have SAP accounts, you're going to start to hear about Clean Core. And if you're already connected, FileNet or one of your IBM repositories with SAP, that's going to start to come up. And for ATLs, with what this means is this concept of Clean Core. There's been decades of heavy customization of SAP systems, customers are now being told, well, stop doing that and start doing, all of your extras or your customizations in SAP's business technology platform, which is pragmatic and smart so that customers in the future can upgrade more easily and be more agile. But, where does content and document management tend to show up in SAP Clean Core conversations? Because they will come up. And so early in the planning and architecture decisions, or later when Clean Core and technical debt become concerns, it could vary across that whole landscape. Ideally, earlier is better. Dominic, let's start with you this time. From an architectural standpoint, why does a SaaS solution like docuflow enable SAP Cloud and Clean Core strategies more effective than IBM Content Collector, other than we can be SaaS? Is there other things that you're seeing? Is it the metadata movement? What are your thoughts on that? Because ICC for SAP has been a great workhorse, like you said, for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, it depends really whether you're using just one or two services, or whether you're using multiple services. I think it makes absolutely more sense to have the capabilities of moving the services you wanted to connect with document management when the time is ready for it. So typically you have multiple projects, multiple business units, whatever. And so I think what really makes the big difference is the ability that you can map metadata from SAP to say the underlying layer, and that you can replicate it forth and back. And so that gives you a lot of flexibility. On the other side, I think this is as well dangerous, so that the customer then could say, yeah, okay, I'm just doing each decision whenever it's time. I think it would be still good to have an overall document management strategy in terms of how should my metadata be classified, how should it be organized, how many document classes are needed. But I think with ICC for SAP, I think for the future you are stuck. I think as soon as you are going into these new services, I mean, it's a must that you go with the docuflow project or product.
Yeah. So what I heard is, if you're, as a customer, if you're just looking at doing, pure play content archiving out of your SAP system, you're probably not taking a good long-term view of that, because as our organizations modernize, we need to use that content for other things outside of just using it in SAP. Maybe it's for AI type applications. Maybe it's for kicking off other workflows. Maybe it's for automatically sharing that content into other line of business systems,
Absolutely.
Success Factors or Salesforce. And if we don't have metadata on those documents, if we don't have a really well thought out taxonomy and systematically building that out, then we don't get to take advantage of all those other benefits. And of course, that's some of the technology that docuflow provides or allows.
Right? I mean, we call that the golden coffin. Huh? So you're doing like companies which are still doing late scanning. You are not in the new area of digitalization and leveraging your content. So no benefits.
Exactly. Just checking a box. Yeah. Snorri, we've mentioned that what resonated with Equinor is, all the functionality and the future capabilities and, being able to do SaaS. That's why docuflow resonated with them. What other options did they consider, or were there other options for them to consider at the time? Or is it just...
We have started to look into this. That is what I can say around this. Of course, a natural progression would be to add more information to the documents in the repository, especially around AI. What kind of opportunities is there We have started some projects and started to look into this as well. Haven't gone really far, but it's on probably what we will focus on this year, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. Hey, so we're running short on time. I'm going to move us along here fairly quickly. Snorri, looking back at Equinor, what would you highlight for other ATLs, P customers, and may or may not have SAP experience themselves, but have customers who are running SAP, maybe integrated using ICC SAP? Like, what would you highlight for other ATLs moving, where these customers are moving toward cloud and SaaS? How would you approach that today?
Yeah, I see that of course, the financial benefits are quite good. And I think that we have a great team in IBM and in VersaFile that could help other customers as well in this journey, because we have done, at least my experience from the project that we have done, it was quite not easy, but we have control over what we should do. And I think leveraging that essence and knowledge that we have now should easily be, in a way, mapped to other customers as well. So, yeah.
Cool, thanks. And Dominic, like in your accounts, and won't name them, but in one large account that you and I have worked in together, the customer had a very specific architecture. They wanted to continue to use FileNet. They wanted to bring that into a Power environment. Wanted to still keep it connected with SAP. They also wanted to introduce connections with SuccessFactors. Tell us a little bit about that scenario, and how did the customer see how this architecture could come together and the value they could get from it? Is that
Yeah. That's a cool question, and I think what Snorri said before. I mean, it's not the product. It's not only the product, but it's as well the skills you guys bring with you, understanding ECM and SAP. I think this is the best value proposition. And then applied to my customer. So my customer is on-premise, large SAP base, and running on Power. And they want to move into the new area with OpenShift. So OpenShift on Power, okay, that's solved. That's up and running. But I mean, the way you guys reacted and said, okay, then we make it possible. I mean, we just pushed you guys, and within a couple of weeks, with some help of IBM providing some testing environment, I mean, you guys migrated your product on this new platform, and I think this is really great. It just shows the expertise you guys have and how simple it is to work with you as a true partner. I mean, it's amazing, and that gives a lot of benefits to the customer. I think it reduces as well the costs. So it's a wonderful experience working with you guys.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dominic. And just continuing on, I guess, with that, very positive. So thank you for that. But I mean, not everything is perfect in life, including us. And is there any other advice you'd have for ATLs on how to work with the VersaFile team? And don't hold back, the good, the bad, or the ugly. Is there lessons learned that you'd say, next time I would do X to, work more smoothly?
I mean, the question is, how would an ATL, I don't know, come to the idea that he would reach out to you guys? That's my major question, huh? And
okay.
From the moment he understands that he has a problem, I think it's probably our responsibility that we share this knowledge in IBM, that the ATLs are aware that this offering is around. And I think we should do more for this, because as soon as he has a hook, I think he could reach out to folks who have already worked with you. And I think this is where we are together right now. I mean, if somebody would approach me and saying, hey, I'm an ATL, I would like to do and solve this and this problem, how would you proceed? I think then the problem is solved, huh? But I think we should evangelize a bit more that we have a good partner in Canada. But I think I just want to stress, I mean, that you have guys who can speak fluent German. I mean, this helps. And as well, I have not had, say, the impression that the time difference was really an issue. You have been as well in Europe very often. So, I mean, this is really great. I think I would be happy if I would have more partners like you guys. But I think it's our job now really to evangelize that, and maybe Snorri and me and some others should talk about that, how we could make this information more available within our community.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I will also highlight the expertise that we have in IBM as well with the IBM Expert Labs, which we have seen that gives in a way that we have this competence, and we have seen that in at least in our project, the cooperation between IBM Expert Labs and VersaFile. I think that is a very good combination.
Yeah, absolutely. And we continue to try and expand and grow that. I think it's important for each region to have that expert labs capabilities, and we're always there to support, or if there's a skill gap, happy to, subcontract under expert labs. So it's all like one big IBM picture.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, hey, we're kind of at time, so we should probably wrap up. So again, I'd like to thank you both again, and from evangelization standpoint, this is the start of it. So I'm so grateful for you both to take some time again to do this with us. You're both really good at what you do. Real pleasure to work with both of you. I wish you both great success in 2026. I'm going to turn it over now to Mike to see if we have any questions from the audience, and then we can wrap up real quick. Mike?
The only question we have is just contact information on who someone could connect with at VersaFile. So I think the key contact will be Josef Hans-Lara. So Sean, if you go to the next screen, we have our contact information and an ability there for someone to capture that QR code and request a demo through a form online. You've got emails there for Joseph as well as Sean, the CEO. And I think other than that, I think we're ready to conclude the presentation. And Sean, I know we have one more slide at the end, which is just showcasing some of the part numbers.
Yeah, before we get there, Mike, there has been some other questions that have come up with other ATLs we've spoken with directly or through LinkedIn. And, some of those other questions are, hey, are you working with customers in our region? Everyone likes to reference somebody locally. And so I would encourage people to reach out to see if there's a company in your region we're working with. There's a few in North America. We've recently concluded a new deal with DHL in Germany, and we've got a couple others in the overall DACH region that we're working through, some in the UK. So lots of things going on there. And one of the other questions that I saw came up was around CMIS. How does CMIS, spelled CMIS, which stands for Content Management Interoperability Standard, it's a mouthful, come into the SAP archiving picture? And it's an important one because SAP in their Clean Core shift is also shifting away from ArchiveLink and going more towards the CMIS path. And their version of CMIS is a little bit different from the global standard. But that's okay. docuflow has got that covered. We've got a CMIS connector, works with your repositories. It's SAP certified, CMIS certified, so all of that's kind of covered as well. So one last question would be around pre-sales support. So I think, key thing here is that get us engaged as early as you can. We'll work with you. We'll work under you. We'll take your guidance and direction, able to provide demos, solution architectures, proof of concepts, whatever it takes to help you help your customer. And that just starts with a friendly chat, low-key friendly chat to kick things off. So with that said, and I don't expect you to remember all of these, but again, if you want some more information around the part numbers and the different part numbers, there's more than this. We can certainly happy to help you and to work through the quoting process if this is at some point when you need to get there. Again, so thank you everybody. Grateful for you joining, and sorry we went over time. Again, thank you, Dominic and Snorre, and thank you, Mike and Natalie, for putting all this together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening and a great day. Talk later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.